Public safety is not a partisan issue. It's not a political issue. It's not something that we only bring attention to under certain kinds of leadership and that we ignore under other leadership. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. We are not CEOs of big corporations, we're not part of the mainstream media, and we do not live in the Hollywood bubble. We are also not politicians in Washington, D.C., but we do have to live with the consequences of the decisions being made and the narrative being pushed by the people in the previously mentioned categories. If you feel like that describes you and you know exactly what I'm talking about, please like this video, leave a comment below, and also share it. Also, be sure you are subscribed to my channel. All of these things help me to grow my channel and hopefully to reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So I wanted to touch on the skyrocketing crime that we are seeing in pretty much every major city across the country. Democrats are trying to say that it's not happening, to pretend that it's not happening. Morons like Joy Behar are saying, crime is going down under Joe Biden. Hillary Clinton tried to make the claim that crime is higher in red states. And, what we can see in a lot of these, if you actually do your own research and you actually look into it for even a millisecond, you can see just so much footage of the crime that is absolutely running rampant in places like New York and Philadelphia, in Portland, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Houston, all of these cities that have Democrat mayors and Democrat district attorneys, where these laws have been passed for cashless bail, for bail reform, things that pretty much essentially give a slap on the wrist to violent criminals and put them back on the street. And, when it comes to the numbers that are actually on paper, there's a few things that contribute to that. First of all, if you're in a state or a city where your district attorney has, they've decided to pass laws saying that certain things are no longer crimes, if those same actions are still crimes in a red state, you are going to have higher crime statistics in the red state because they are still prosecuting people for those crimes, while people in the blue states that have passed laws saying that these are no longer crimes, those crimes are no longer going to go on record. So there's that. There's the fact that, now that these laws have absolved responsibility from criminals and saying pretty much, these are no longer prosecutable crimes. We're not going to put you behind bars. We're not even going to put you in handcuffs for this. That doesn't mean that those things are no longer happening. In fact, they are happening in higher numbers because there's no deterrent for people to not do these things. It's just the fact that it's not being recorded in the same way that it used to. We also have seen numerous people speak out about the Democrat district attorneys who are essentially not prosecuting crime. They're not bringing people into custody. They're not charging people. Anybody that they actually do bring into custody is getting a slap on the wrist and released back out into the city and onto the streets. So there's that. When it comes to the red state statistics, if you were to take out the cities that are run by Democrat DAs or that, have the laws that are passed, the crimes that are charged and prosecuted and judged by Democrat DAs and judges, if you took those cities out, the statistics in those red states would drop significantly. So it is all of these people that seem to want to side with criminals, that claim, repeatedly to care so much about society, to care about families, to care about the safety of, the rights of women, to, that they are really the party of the people and they care so much about blue collar workers and, whatever the talking point, that they care just so much. These are the people that are passing laws to allow criminals, to allow violent people back onto the streets, to terrorize us, to make it feel like it's not even safe to walk down the street. People in New York are not even safe going into the subway anymore. People in Philadelphia, they have said repeatedly they do not feel safe just walking down the street. People are being attacked and murdered in broad daylight. Like I said, with the subway, they're being pushed onto the tracks. There's these stories, endless stories every single day of this happening. And a lot of people that are committing these crimes and wreaking this havoc and terrorizing these communities have had previous criminal incidents, previous arrests of assault and violence, proving and indicating repeatedly that they should not be out in society, and yet somehow they still are. And that brings us to the story of today, which is absolutely heartbreaking and tragic, of Keaira Bennefield, who is a New York woman who was murdered by her husband. They actually have footage, video footage of her. I don't know if she recorded it herself, but it was caught on video of her being violently beaten by her husband. Because of that beating, because of that assault, he was only charged with a misdemeanor. And immediately, under New York's no cash bail laws, he's out, and within 24 hours, he executed this woman in front of her 3 children. This was in New York. And now the mom of this woman, of Keaira, she's speaking to the press, emphasizing that she now has to raise these 3 beautiful children who now have to grow up without their mother. And she specifically cites these cashless bail laws that are not holding people accountable, that this man should never have been let out. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. And of course, Kathy Hochul is blaming the system. She's pointing she's pointing fingers in as many directions as she possibly can, refusing to take any responsibility for it, which is absolutely disgusting and despicable. It says, in Keira's case, an order of protection was issued the same day 45-year-old Adam Bennefield walked free from custody on October 4th because he'd only been charged with misdemeanors over the savage beating of his estranged wife and couldn't be held on bail under New York's reforms. The following day, police allege Benefield executed the mom of 3. Kathy Hochul desperately wants to point fingers at everyone for the Benefield murder. Kathy Hochul should be pointing fingers at herself and the cashless bail law in Albany. Kathy Hochul has failed New Yorkers at every turn. She owns the crime crisis and the devastating loss of life. Those comments are from Elise Stefanik. Let's see. It's just absolutely disgusting. And, it's so frustrating because there's so many of us that keep saying these laws do not work. These laws are endangering innocent people. And, when it comes to specifically cases like Keaira Bennefield, she is a Black woman. She, law-abiding citizen. She is out there living her life. Where are women's rights activists on this? Where's BLM on this? When they talk about all these, fighting for women's rights and standing for women and not wanting women to live like, women in Afghanistan and feeling like America's abortion laws are setting us back hundreds of years. And what's absolutely astounding to me is when it comes right down to the issues that women actually face every single day, they have nothing to say about that. And in my opinion, and I'm sure in the opinion of a lot of women, being safe is a right. It is a right that is ensured by laws that put criminals behind bars. It is ensured when people who have proven themselves to be a danger to society, when there's no question that they have proven that they intend to harm and potentially kill innocent people, that there are laws in place that do everything possible to keep them from hurting innocent people, from hurting innocent women. When you pass laws that do not punish domestic abusers, that do not put violent people behind bars, that do not hold dangerous spouses and partners accountable for their actions, you're sending a message to society and to women that their safety does not matter, that you actually do not believe in protecting innocent lives at all, and that you actually side with violent criminals over people who are just trying to go through their daily lives, who are not hurting people, who just want to raise their children, who just want to get their kids safely to and from school, who want to be able to get to work safely and to go to bed at night not worrying about someone endangering their home and their family. These laws these are the kind of laws that have allowed crime to run rampant in New York, in Portland, in Philadelphia, in Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, Houston, and these are the kind of laws that the left wants to pass in every city, in every state. This is what Beto O'Rourke wants for Texas. This is what Katie Hobbs wants for Arizona. This is what Charlie Crist would do to Florida. All the while, we've got people in the media trying to make excuses for it, celebrities offering their useless, ridiculous opinions, people that have armed security, that have security cameras and gates and walls around their homes, trying to tell us that this is not something that we should be worried about, that it's not a priority. All the while, things like this are happening every single day.
Alvin, did you attack him? Alvin Charles led away from the 73rd Precinct in Brownsville tonight in handcuffs, charged with murdering a man on board an L train at the Atlantic Avenue subway station last Friday. Police say Charles slashed 43-year-old Tommy Bailey in the neck during a dispute and then fled. Bailey was pronounced dead at Brookdale Hospital.
Good, quiet guy, man. I never seen that in him. I mean, I never knew about him having any altercations before. So it's like shocking to me to hear this.
Omari Barnett was friends with Bailey and told Pix 11 he was a father of two, working as a steam fitter at LaGuardia Airport. Bailey's death now marks the 6th so far this year on the subway. Transit crime is up almost 42% this year compared to...
The lies and the gaslighting is absolutely insane. Like I said, the left will tell you how much they care about blue-collar workers, that they're the party of everyday people. But they only say these things to get elected. And every single time they gain power, they pass laws like cashless bail and lowering criminal charges for things like beating the crap out of your wife, and prove over and over and over again who they really are. They pass things like needle exchange programs and setting up vending machines filled with drugs. Homeless people are dying on the street, covered in garbage and feces, completely dehumanized and treated like they belong in a landfill.
So, do you have... Are you on hold with 911? I'm going to call too, just to... Red line train.
Take it! Oh my God, he's dead! Justin, he's dead!
Every single one of these people is someone's daughter, is someone's son, is someone's sister or cousin or best friend or even parent. These are human beings and no one should be treated like this. And it is vile and despicable to get up on your campaign stage and your microphone and talk about how much you care about women's rights when you're simultaneously giving a slap on the wrist to their violent partners, or ignoring the assaults and attacks that are happening against women who are just walking through the subway or trying to get to work, to ignore people who say, I don't feel safe in my own home, I don't feel safe in my own neighborhood, and I don't feel safe in my own community, and to demonstrate repeatedly that you think so little of women that the only rights you want to make sure that they have is unlimited access to kill their unborn babies. Safety, justice, security, recognition, even defining yourself as a woman, none of that. Public safety is not a partisan issue. It's not a political issue. It's not something that we only bring attention to under certain kinds of leadership and that we ignore under other leadership. It's not okay under, a Republican governor while criticized under a Democrat governor. This is something that everybody should expect from their leaders to enforce the laws, to put dangerous people behind bars, and to allow law-abiding citizens to be able to get to and from work as safely as possible. This is something that we should all expect, and this is not something we should be divided on at all. And being a leader who claims to care about people and then flipping the switch when you get into a position of power, this is also not a partisan issue. It's not a political issue. This is something that makes you a despicable and soulless human being, no matter what your political beliefs are. To say whatever you can to get elected, to say whatever you think that people want to hear just to gain that power, and then completely throwing everything that you promised you cared about, that you promised you would do, out the window. It's disgusting. This is something that we should all care about, because while, especially as a leftist, while you think that your leftist leaders like Kathy Hochul and, Beto O'Rourke, who wants to take over Texas, which is just not going to happen, or anybody else, because, while you think that these people have your back, you are more of a pawn than anybody else, more than any other Democrat, more than any Republican, or more than any conservative, because they know that they can say whatever they want to you to get them into power, and you will support them, and you will keep supporting them even while they're making you walk through crime-filled streets, or even while they're ignoring the fact that you can't afford to feed your family and you can't afford to get to and from work, or when there are human beings wasting away on the side of the road, that you will still support them, that they can make you live in the most miserable, depraved conditions and take everything away from you, but if they still say the right thing, they still have your vote. But one day, they will flip that switch on you, and they will flip it in a way that you can't ignore the impact that it has on your life, whether it be crime, whether it be starvation, whether it be your children suffering, because you are not exempt from it by any stretch of the imagination, and you are the ones that are living in these hellholes more than anybody else. And I hope one day that you wake up before it hits your doorstep.